Humble greetings to all my dear viewers. Thank you for joining me today. Let's take a few moments to pause, reflect, and explore something that deeply matters, not just to one country, but to all of us as a global community. Yes, today we are going to again talk about the conflict that continues to take innocent lives, uproot families, and threaten the very values of freedom, culture, and self-determination. That's right, we are talking about the war in Ukraine. The war that is far more than a military confrontation and a crisis of identity, sovereignty, and human dignity. In this video, we'll be exploring the deeper dimensions of the conflict. That is, how Ukraine is fighting not just for land, but for its cultural survival, and why international support, especially from nations like the United States, is critical, yet inconsistent, and what role different countries are playing, for better or for worse, in shaping the course of this war. We'll be also reflecting on the humanitarian cost of the ongoing aggression, the moral responsibilities of world powers, and why a ceasefire is no longer a political choice but a humanitarian imperative. So stay with me, and together let's uncover the truth behind the headlines, honor the resilience of the Ukrainian people, and raise our voices for peace, justice, and accountability. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this if you believe every voice matters, especially when it speaks for the voiceless. So let's begin. The war in Ukraine is far more than a military conflict. It is a deliberate campaign to dismantle a nation's independence, race off its cultural identity, and destabilize its society. This is not simply about contested borders or political disagreements, but it's about the violation of a sovereign country's right to exist freely, speak its language, preserve its traditions, and determine its own future. From the annexation of Crimea in 2014 to the current full-scale invasion, Ukraine has faced continuous efforts to destabilize its economy, undermine its governance, and erode the national identity of its people. Among the most disturbing aspects of this conflict is the forced relocation of Ukrainian children. Taken from their families and communities, many have been brought into Russian territories, where they are subjected to misinformation campaigns aimed at disconnecting them from their roots. These children are denied the chance to learn their history, honor their national heroes, understand the resilience of their people. This is not just an assault on land, it is an assault on heritage, language, and human dignity. And yet, the Ukrainian people have shown remarkable strength and unity. They are not seeking confrontation, they are defending their right to live in peace. Their desire to join international defense alliances such as NATO is not an act of aggression, but a rational response to constant threats from Russia since its 2014 annexation of Crimea. It is a means to secure their future, uphold democratic values, and ensure protection from further violations of their sovereignty. Ukraine's resistance is not fueled by hatred. It is powered by a commitment to freedom, justice, and self-determination. Its citizens want what any nation does: to raise their children safely, preserve their culture, and chart their own path forward. Furthermore, United States that had already promised to stand with Ukraine and support it militarily and diplomatically has not consistently upheld its commitments to provide Ukraine with the military aid necessary to withstand the escalating attacks from the Russian Federation, nor has it fulfilled its pledge to help mediate a ceasefire or broker a lasting peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia. This lack of action persists despite the signing of a bilateral agreement ratified by the Ukrainian parliament that laid the foundation for a shared economic partnership, including significant investment in Ukraine's critical mineral resources, particularly rare earth elements. Yet, rather than actively working toward a diplomatic resolution to the conflict, as some European allies like France have attempted, the US has appeared largely disengaged from peace efforts. Since early 2025, aid deliveries have been paused or reduced significantly. Defensive systems such as Patriot air defense missiles, Hellfire missiles, precision artillery rounds, drones, and equipment used by Ukrainian fighter jets remain undelivered. These setbacks are especially devastating given the scale of aerial attacks Ukraine has endured. In June alone, over 5,337 Shahid-type drones were launched at Ukrainian cities, shattering the previous monthly record, resulting in the destruction of infrastructure, endangering lives, and increasing civilian casualties. Furthermore, Ukraine is already experiencing severe shortages of critical battlefield supplies, particularly 155mm ammunition used for artillery on the front lines. Since his inauguration in January, US President Donald Trump has not approved any additional military aid packages for Ukraine. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also announced recently that the US will reduce the total aid it sends to Ukraine in its upcoming defense budget. At the NATO summit in The Hague in late June, Trump said he would see if the US could supply Kyiv with additional missiles for its Patriot systems. But according to a source who spoke to Politico, plans to reduce and redirect air defense munitions and other weapons for Ukraine have been in the works for months. The administration is looking to redirect artillery shells, tank shells, and air defense systems to Israel or back to Washington. Colby, the reported architect of the decision, has previously advocated for reducing U.S. military assistance to Ukraine to prioritize deterrence efforts in Asia. Meanwhile, Russia, on the June 29th, launched the largest missile and drone attack against Ukraine since the start of its full-scale war. Air defense interceptors to help knock down Russian drones and projectiles were among the items delayed. In recent weeks, Russia has intensified air attacks on Ukraine cities on several nights, launching hundreds of drones and missiles at a time, leading to widespread damage and an increase in civilian casualties. Since US President Donald Trump took office in January, he has softened Washington's position toward Russia, seeking a diplomatic solution to the war in Ukraine and raising doubts about future US military support for Kyiv's war effort. While every conflict deserves attention, the inconsistency in response undermines Ukraine's ability to defend itself and weakens the credibility of international commitments. America's response in terms of immediately brokering ceasefire between Israel and Iran before the recent conflict between them escalated further was quicker compared to that between Ukraine and Russia, that continues to bring harm to countless number of lives even during this instance while you are watching this video. Russia, which already controls about a fifth of Ukraine, has been preparing a summer ground offensive, advancing gradually in the eastern region of Donetsk and northeastern region of Sumy. Weapons aid was temporarily halted in February, followed by a longer suspension in March. The Trump administration later resumed shipments of the remaining aid that had been previously approved under the Biden administration. However, no new aid policy has been introduced since then, according to a report by Politico. Iran's role in this war cannot be ignored at the same time. Iran has consistently supported Russia by supplying hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones, which have been used to take the lives of countless innocent civilians in Ukraine, including children, infants, and mothers. This support extends beyond weaponry, as Iran continues to provide materials, technology, and technical expertise to help develop more advanced versions of these weapons, particularly the Shahed 136 drones now manufactured in Russia as the Geran 2 with the backing of Iranian companies. Given this direct involvement in enabling destruction, how can the actions of Iran's leadership be seen as any different from those of Russia in their role in causing widespread human suffering? Are such governments deserving of divine grace? And will they ever be forgiven by the Almighty if their blood runs red? Is it not the same for Ukrainians? Are Ukrainians not also children of God, equally worthy of life, peace, and protection? This war is no longer only about geopolitics. It is a humanitarian crisis, a cultural tragedy, and a test of our global moral compass. The longer it continues, the more lives are lost, the more families are displaced, and the more children are denied their future. Ukrainians are not different from any other people. They bleed the same, mourn the same, and hope the same. They deserve the right to raise their children in peace, to preserve their traditions, and to rebuild what has been unjustly taken. Their prayers for peace are no less worthy than anyone else's. What is unfolding in Ukraine is not just their burden to bear. It is a collective challenge to the principles we claim to uphold as a global community: sovereignty, human rights, and justice. Now is the time to act, not with indifference and not with delay, but with resolve. An immediate ceasefire is the only humane and just path forward, and to that end, we extend a direct and respectful appeal to the representatives of the Russian Federation. Cooperate sincerely in peace negotiations. This is not a moment to prolong conflict. It is a chance to end suffering. The world needs to see a willingness to engage in diplomacy, to find common ground, to protect lives and halt the destruction. By participating in peace efforts in good faith, Russia has an opportunity to choose reconciliation over ruin. Continued silence, obstruction, or military escalation will only deepen the humanitarian toll on both sides. Peace is not weakness, it is strength, guided by wisdom. It is the only way to restore dignity, rebuild trust, and secure the future. Let us not be passive observers of this tragedy. Let us not allow history to be written by those who silence others through force. This is our time to stand united for justice, for peace, and for the values that define a truly global, compassionate society. This is not just Ukraine's cause, it is our shared responsibility. Let us raise our voices. Let us insist on peace. Let us act before more is lost. Thank you.